Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to simplify powers of I, powers of an imaginary unit. So before I get started with some examples, I want to go ahead and explain what an imaginary number is, or when do you end up with an imaginary unit. So let's say, for example, you want to get the square root of 25. So we all know that the square root of 25 is equal to 5, because 5 times 5 gives you 25. Okay, if you get the square root of 100, it gives you a 10. Square root of 121 gives you an 11, so on and so forth. Okay, now what if you try to get the square root of a negative 25? Okay, notice how the number under the radical is a negative. Okay, if you type that into the calculator, it's going to give you an error, and it's going to say it's a non-real answer. Okay, so anytime that you try to get the square root of a negative number, when the number under the square root, which is called your radicand, is a negative, you're always going to end up with an imaginary unit. Okay, so right now our calculator is giving us an error because our calculator is set up to only give us real numbers as answers. Now, you can actually go to mode on your calculator. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on mode. And if you notice on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh row, real is highlighted right now. So again, our calculator is only set up to give us real solutions right now, real answers. But if I go ahead and click on the right side of that, notice how it says a plus bi. Okay, then we can go ahead and set up our calculator to give us complex or imaginary solutions. So I'm going to go ahead and push enter there. So I'm changing the mode to give me complex or imaginary solutions. Okay, now once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. And I'm going to go ahead and try this one more time. Square root of negative 25. And this time it does give me my imaginary solution. It is 5i. That is a pure imaginary number. Okay, so if you ever want to work with imaginary numbers, you need to change your settings on mode. Go ahead and change it to a plus bi. That'll give you imaginary solutions as well. Okay, now having said that, we can go ahead and work with powers of I, which is what this video is. Okay, so let's say I have I raised to the power of 1. That gives us an I. Okay, if you want to get I raised to the power of 2, that gives us a negative 1 plus 0i. Now the 0i, you don't need that part of the answer because it's a 0. So that's the same thing as just a negative 1. Okay. Now if we have I raised to the power of 3, that gives us negative I. Okay. And let's try one more. I to the power of 4. That gives us a 1 plus 0i. Again, we don't need the 0i. It's giving us the answer as a complex number. All we need is just a real part, which is a 1. So I want to focus on these 4. I to the power of 1 gave us an I. I to the power of 2 is a negative 1. I to the power of 3 is a negative I. And I to the power of 4 is 1. These are the only 4 possible solutions whenever you're getting powers of I. Anything after that, I to the power of 5, I to the power of 6, I to the power of 7, it's just going to keep cycling and repeating these 4 answers over and over again. So for example, if I get I to the power of 5, which would be the next one, I'm going to get an answer of an I. I to the power of 6, I'm going to get my next answer, which is a negative 1. I to the power of 7 is a negative I. I to the power of 8 is a positive 1. And again, the cycle repeats again. I to the 9 would be I to the 10 would be negative 1, so on and so forth. And it just repeats over and over and over again. Okay, now you can also get the powers of bigger numbers. For example, let me do one more. I to the power of, let's say, 62. That gives us a negative 1 as an answer. So this is how you simplify powers of I with your calculator.